Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very, very senior Army General from India, currently in Panchkula, India, Lieutenant General Vipan Gupta. General Gupta, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for including me as part of your podcasting journey. Thanks
Thank
indeed.
you. General Gupta has served in the Indian Army and retired as a three-star general. He's an author of two books, and all of you know I'm very partial to authors. He's an author of two books titled Human to Human, The Source of Joy in Relationships, and The Games Mind Plays. He's also a podcaster of a podcast titled Whispering Vibes, Human to Human. So, General, let's start with your own journey, because a lot of our young people love to understand what takes you to the top. So what did you do right to make it right to the top in the Army?
Many things must have gone right with me. That's why I reached where I've reached.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're looking for something that what did I do right to reach there?
Correct.
And scaled about 9 levels. We started during our times, there was a rank of second lieutenant.
Yeah.
And from second lieutenant to a lieutenant general. And it's a long journey, 9 ranks in between. And the first thing which comes to my mind, where I can retrospect, I can reflect on what I did right. The first thing that comes to my mind is that I had never looked at the top. I remained focused on the rank that I was holding, giving 100% to that rank.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, looking from the sidelines about 2 levels up, so I get a complete perspective. The second thing which comes to my mind is that I have always been a team man. When I was young, I wanted to be always an effective member of a team. And as I started growing up, I started commanding troops, level of company commander, battalion commander, and all that. I ensured that I have a very effective and a happy team. It's very important that your team looks at the vision or your goal from the same point as where you are standing. Because if they're strung all along the line or a circle, they will have their own perspective. And by making the team look at the same vision or same point where you are standing, ensures that everyone puts their might, and that's how you reach the goal.
Amazing. And of course, little bit that I know of the Army, not only do you have to do all your work right, but you have remained fit as well.
Yeah. And of course, the last thing I must add here is that, the stroke of luck always favored me.
Absolutely.
The last rank, that is rank of the lieutenant general, came my way out of nowhere. It just vacancy came to our batch, and I just got it.
Well, you're being very modest. There are not too many people who make it to a general, leave alone a 3-star general. Fantastic. So, in this journey, what would you say have been some of your own learnings and some of your challenges?
Yeah, there were a whole lot of learning lessons, because I never stopped learning right from the day when I started my journey, even till today. And the most important part is that I shifted that learning into that knowledge, into wisdom by practicing it. Because once you have acquired some skills, knowledge and all that, unless you translate that into practical things on ground, it is of no use.
Right.
That is the first thing. I'm a very, very strong believer of that. The second thing is always believe in making things very simple. Keeping things simple, because all secrets of life, they open in simplicity. Simplicity also does not allow the complexity to come near you. Things are simple, complex things go away. So I kept things simple. And at the same time, one has to work really, really hard. One has to work smart also. And when you're performing, when you are delivering, when you are at the stage, that is the time when you should be effortless.
Fantastic.
Couple of things that I got.
Wonderful. Yeah. And you did mention a few minutes ago about how you had a happy team. What would you say has been your leadership style?
Yeah. See, the leadership style, if I put it straight away. My leadership style was flexible in nature. Why I'm calling it flexible? On one end of the line, you have the hierarchical leadership, and on the other side, you have the egalitarian leadership. And there are a whole lot of leaderships, coaching style, autocratic, democratic, and what have you, in between strong.
Yeah.
But you have to change your leadership style as per the situation. You could be autocratic, you could be hierarchical when the situation demands, and you can become an egalitarian when the situation demands accordingly. So flexibility is the key, because the moment you are flexible, you are open to all kind of opportunities and to do well. And that's what I followed. Never stuck to one style, kept it open, kept it flexible.
Very interesting. A couple of questions about the Indian soldier, and I've spoken to many of your colleagues who have retired from the army. What comes out very strongly is this whole concept of the Naam Namak Nishan. I want to ask you, what motivates an Indian soldier to virtually give up or the supreme sacrifice for his motherland?
Yeah. There are many things. You see, after independence, we fought 4 major wars.
Correct.
Right? Starting with 47, 48, 62, 65, and 71. I'm not counting Kargil and Parakram. So the initial part of our, let's say, first 2 decades, we fought 4 wars. And every time, if you look at it, we were at the receiving end. We were never aggressors. These wars was thrust upon our throat.
Correct.
Every time. And there was a very, very strong feeling of nationalism that seeped into the psyche of Indian soldier. And at the same time, why only soldiers? Into the Indian public.
Correct.
And that was a huge motivation, that you're fighting for a right cause. You're fighting for a just cause. To protect the sovereignty, the integrity, and the borders of your nation.
Well said.
Nothing else can motivate you. Look at what is happening in Ukraine, the latest war. The way these guys are fighting, the way they're challenging the might of Soviets, the Russians. That is what is very, very important.
Yeah.
And our boys are from the villages, and the kind of respect that they get over there when they go back home. And I saw it myself, when Parakram, I was deployed in the Rajasthan border. And when we were moving from peace station to the war station or to the war zone, the kind of welcome that we got from general public, the way they were shouting slogans and all, it fills so much of pride and nationalism and that you want to do anything for your country. And that is what I think motivates the Indian soldier. And besides that, one more point that I want to add is that we have a very, very inspiring leadership, which is backed by a very, very inspiring the higher leadership. The younger leaders, the young officers, they fight along with the men. They are always in the forefront and followed by people who can guide them, who can lead them, and who can strategize for them.
How wonderful. And it's the young leaders who become the generals of tomorrow. So
absolutely.
Well said. Let me now move a little bit to the technology.
Yeah.
And I remember my father was in the army also, and he was there in the 62 war, and he used to tell us how ill-equipped the army was in those days. And yet now when one looks at it, I'm so happy to see a big change. I want to get your perspective, General, on how have you seen technology change the army over the last 3 odd decades?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll be able to answer this from the perspective open perspective, because I started my journey exactly about 4 decades ago. And that is the time when we were in 3rd generation of warfare. And thereafter, we started improving, started evolving. Many things happened, many things we did right. And technology is always a driver for evolution. That is how the armies change. Many things that happened, of all of them, some of the important ones I'll like to quote. For example, we got into maneuver warfare by getting the high mobility vehicles. The surveillance devices and the night vision capabilities improved tremendously. There was a problem. There was a fog of war. You must have heard this terminology, fog of war. The battlefield transparency improved. The networking improved. The weapon platform, the command and control element and the support element, all of them started coming on the same platform, so that you can dictate, you can swiftly take action and move forces on ground. Now we also graduated to fourth generation, which is the information warfare that happened in the 90s and in the 2020, early 20s. And information warfare now got supported by the media, social media, and the internet technology. All part of it. You must have seen that movie, very famous movie called the Battle of Longewala border. That is the time. I just want to give you a little insight into that. Imagine what happened. We were talking about the air and the ground forces coordination. We had just about 120 troops pitted against 3,000 Pakistani soldiers. They had 40 tanks. We had only camels with us. And 4 aircraft played hunters. They played very hell with the Pakistani. At the end of the day, we fought them bravely. And there were only 2 soldiers died, Indian soldiers, and only 3 or 4 camels we lost. Whereas Pakistani, they lost 200 soldiers and about 36, a total annihilation. Amazing. That is only because we were able to use the technology, the airspace effectively. And imagine what we can do today. Absolutely. What technology can do today.
Absolutely. And yet, as a thinking general who's all written books, and we'll come to your books, what would you say is the next generation of war, given the fact that you've got cyberspace, outer space, and there's so much more happening in the world, which is beyond guns and tanks?
Yeah. I at this stage, I've got reminded of 2 names. Chanakya.
Yep.
You heard about him.
I'm a great follower of Chanakya, yes.
And Sun Tzu, the Chinese military scholar, the writer, the author. I have fondness for books. He read many books. Now, these 2 guys, they dictated everything about the operational art. Sun Tzu wrote a book, The Art of War. Today, when we are going to fight, or tomorrow when we're going to fight, the adversary, irrespective of whether it is from anywhere, they are almost going to be technologically at the same level. Why I'm saying so? Because these are the days of alignments, when you are aligned to some block or the other. Look at that Ukraine. Again, I'm coming back to Ukraine. The kind of technology that is being supplied by West to Ukraine, they are almost at par with the Russians, the might of Russians. So they are at par. So technology is going to be the same, first. The second thing is that the command and control structure and your weapon platform, they are all going to be at the same level. Correct. It is a question of mustering your resources and how you bring them at the point of impact. That is going to be more important. And of course, getting back to that operational art, the operational art is going to be very, very important. Because we are now into 4th generation, 5th generation, and 6th generation warfare. The information warfare, which is 4th generation. Correct. The cyberspace, which is basically corrupting the network command and control element, so that you are not able to pass the orders. You are not able to communicate with each other. And of course, the 6th generation is the utilization of space effectively to ensure that you are able to carry out degradation at long ranges. The swarms, the drones, swarm drones, and on-call mini satellites and all that. Everything is available on the table. Yeah. But it is how generals, how senior officers muster their resources, the operational art is going to be the key. But let me tell you, the last word that I want to add here is that the foot soldiers are going to still come. Look at it's not that technology will make foot soldier redundant. They will still remain.
Very well said. So one more question relating to army and soldiers, and then I move to your books. It has often been said, General, that a Chinese soldier fights for his party, the Communist Party. That's not a national army. The Pakistani soldier fights for his religion, and the Indian soldier fights for his motherland. I'd love to get your perspectives.
No, I fully agree with you. I'll tell you my logic. The Communist Party of China, or the CCP, they call it Chinese Communist Party informally, they literally own the PLA, People's Liberation Army. We all must know that the PLA started as an internal security force.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And the Chinese party, the Communist Party of China, has a very, very strong hold. They dictate literally everything. And any soldier and everyone will fight for somebody or someone whom he holds at the highest esteem.
Correct.
So Chinese soldiers fight for the party because party is the one which is overriding on the PLA, People Liberation Army. Now, as coming to the Pakistan Army, now, Pakistan Army, why they fight for Islam? Because they have a single religion. When the partition took place, it is based on the religion, Islam.
Yeah.
Right. And they have been raising this bogey every time. All wars that we have fought, every time the rhetoric of Islam is under danger, now that they have been fighting. And it has seeped so much into the psyche of a soldier and in the officers at all levels.
Right.
Their senior officers look more like a priest than a soldier.
Absolutely.
And every time they raise this bogey and they fight. So it motivates them. And they've also realized that they will not be able to face the might of Indian soldiers in a typical conventional warfare.
Right.
So in 47, 48, they started sending the Islamic militants into our country, which they're doing it even now. So they can't fight a conventional battle with us. So it is the proxy war, a different category of wars that they are trying to fight. And one thing which motivates ultimately is the Islam.
Amazing.
So that is why they fight under the banner of Islam. Chinese fight under the banner of single party, Communist Party of China. Pakistanis fight under the banner of Islam. Yeah. Now, the story is totally different as far as our soldiers are concerned.
Yeah.
Our boys are concerned. It is totally different. Like I told you, I partially answered this question that we fought 4 wars and the spirit of nationalism. And we don't have a single party. We don't have any single religion. I mean, the kind of atmosphere that we have in India, it is uncomparable to Pakistan or China. So spirit of nationalism is great. And we fight for the sovereignty and integrity of a country. Sure. And when the security and safety of somebody or someone is totally at your disposal, you will do anything and everything to protect it.
Well said.
And that is what our boys do.
Well said. Well said. What a great response. Thank you. So let's move to your books now. Tell me about both your books.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about the first one, which is The Games, Mind Play. Now, this book, actually, I wrote in the year 2011, and that is the time when I was posted in a very high headquarter or a large headquarter in Northern Command, in the northern borders. And that is the time my assignment, I was holding an assignment wherein I had to look after the discipline and the administration of more than 35,000 troops. And the assignment gave me the opportunity to go through a number of cases of untoward incidents of a serious nature that would come on my table, and we'll analyze them. And that is the time when I realized that the human mind, when it gets swayed, because of negativity that seeps into it, it can go to any extreme. And in a weaker moment, you can end up doing anything. Although the untoward incident in the army are not very many, but then we have a zero tolerance.
Correct.
So that is why we never wanted it to go beyond. We wanted a zero tolerance, a zero number. And having analyzed so many cases, I thought, why not convert those cases into case studies, structured case studies, so that others can learn from it. It is better to learn from others' mistake rather than committing it yourself. Correct. So that gave birth to my book, the first book, The Games, Mind Play. And the mantra in that is that a mind is a fabulous gizmo. It can do something wonderful. It can create heaven, or it can create hell also.
Well said. Well said.
And anything that happens on ground has got a backward integration into your mind. Nothing gets translated on ground unless it is conceived in the mind. And if you can control the mind, yes, you can control everything.
Very interesting.
So that is why we have about 13 or 14 case studies in this book. And there's a very structured way of presenting these case studies. There are 4 to 5 parts of it. And it reads with the chronology of the event leading to the case. Then it comes to the relevance of the case. How relevant is the learning value is the third part of it. And then what is the case analysis, pros and cons, how it whole thing happened? Could it have been prevented? and finally the lessons learned.
Fantastic.
So that forms into a case study, and it was introduced to all the cadre establishment. It became an overnight success, and but unfortunately, we can't keep it open to public, because it has a classified information.
Sure.
Although I'm getting tempted to write something similar, in the open field. Let's see.
So what you're saying is that this book is not available on Amazon.
Book is not available because it has got restricted material.
Understand.
All across the military readership. And the second book.
Before you go there, is it possible for you to share one or two such examples without any names? And if it's confidential, just say no.
Oh, I'll just tell you. The cases included in this book, like I told you, are only of serious nature. Now, I can just name a few. Like, for example, suicides, how the suicides are committed, how the fratricide, which is, again, even worse than suicide, fratricide is committed. Mechanical transport accidents of serious nature, molestation, cheating, how the soldiers get cheated when they go home and all that. So it has a variety of cases. I'll not be go into the details of
fair enough. No, absolutely. And I don't want to ask you
anymore. As long as you understand that it covers a whole gamut of cases.
What I'm hearing you say, General, is that we always put our soldiers on a pedestal, but at the end of the day, they're human.
They're human.
Challenges all of us face, they face as well.
In the weaker moment, when you are absolutely alone, somewhere tucked into the wilderness, there's no communication, and you don't know what the hell is happening. So imagine what can happen to you. Absolutely. So mind gets swayed.
Agree with you. Agree. So let's move to your second book. And is this available on Amazon? Or
second book is available on Amazon. Okay. It's globally available.
Wonderful.
And this I wrote.
And this book is titled "Human to Human: The Source of Joy in Relationships." Okay, absolutely. Great. So I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to check out General Gupta's book.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I want the millennials and the Gen Z to read this because I actually wrote it for them. Not that the elders can't. It has lessons for everyone.
Wonderful.
Now, I'll just tell you a little bit of background. I was introduced to spirituality very early in life. At the age of 10, I would say, when my dad initiated me into meditation. And thereafter, I was growing up. Many times I left meditation and all that, but it never left me. It kept coming back to me again and again. So naturally, I was interested in reading a lot of material which is concerning spirituality, body, mind, soul, wellness, occult, free will, the powers of conscious mind, ego, etc., consciousness. And luckily, I met a large number of New Age masters as I was growing up.
Okay.
This kept happening when I turned around late 40s or early 50s. And then I thought, because I always believe that unless you practice what you've learned, it is of no use. You have to convert that into wisdom by practicing it. So when I was turning around 50, which is about 10, 12 years ago, I started practicing these, whatever learning. And empirically testing them, heuristically that I've learned, empirically testing them on ground. I'm a golfer. And you can test anything and everything about life on when you play a round of golf. So that happened for about another 5, 7, 8, 10 years. And when I retired, I thought this is the time that whatever I've heuristically learned and I have tested in the workshop, my own life's laboratory and all that, I must put it on ground. I must put it in a manner that it goes to the millennials and the Gen Z who are going to script the 21st century. They are the guys who are very busy in making their career, but they don't have avenues open in which they can read something about life, about spirituality, spiritual quotient, spiritual intelligence, wellness, unconditioned intelligence, etc., on a platter, on a single platform. So I've combined all this. And another thing that I must tell you is that we humans are very, very powerful entities. We are the microcosmic reflection of the macrocosm.
Absolutely.
Everything and anything which is happening outside is happening inside. And we can use our abilities, but provided we are able to activate them. So this is one way that I have shared with the viewers as to how to activate your human powers, the vast humanness, and use that, utilize that for finding joy. having good relationship, and prevent the dysfunctional state of humanity in which we are living.
How wonderful.
That's the purpose.
How wonderful. You also say that you seek to open new vistas to activate the powers of universe lying dormant within every human being. Tell me a little more.
Yeah. You see, our universe came into being. It was manifested about 13.7 or 8 billion years ago. 13.78 billion years ago. It is now tested, proved.
Yeah.
And James Webb has proved it again now, latest is. And thereafter, the planet Earth came into existence about 4.54 billion years ago. And life appeared on our planet, the only planet which has life, about 3.8 billion years ago.
Right.
And we humans, the Homo sapiens as we call them, those who look the way you and me look today, they appeared about 200,000 years ago.
Correct.
Imagine for about 13 billion years ago, 13 billion years, the universe remained unconscious.
Correct.
It was not able to use its consciousness, experience its consciousness. When we humans came, we brought that boom of consciousness.
Well said.
Universe could experience itself through humans. So that is why I'm saying that we are so powerful. We reflect the powers of universe, and universe is actually experiencing its powers through us. Then why can't we activate those powers? And you can activate those powers is the only way to activate is that if you learn and then you practice every day. And that is how I've tried to structure my book, all lessons.
Well said.
You have to open these vistas to make sure that younger generation, they learn it. In fact, every one of us learn.
Fantastic. So I have time for my one more question. So my next question is my last question. Given your amazing journey, and the incredible thoughts that you've shared with us today, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from your own learnings and from our conversation today?
Oh my God, there are many lessons.
Yeah,
a lot of them. But I would like to focus on the lessons that, or the something that I'm practicing today. If you just had 3, I can give you a little more. But then, okay.
Yeah.
Stay non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Don't allow judgment to take the better of you.
Yeah.
Stay non-resistant. Accept life the way it comes. Let go, let universe. Right?
Yeah.
And also keep things simple that I mentioned to you earlier.
Yeah.
Keep things simple.
Yeah.
And one more thing that I want to tell to the youngsters today, that we are living in a technology age. You asked me a question also.
Yeah.
A stage has reached wherein technology has started driving our day and night and 24 hours.
Yeah.
Our youngsters are so busy. I want to tell them that use technology, but at the same time, have a little downtime in life, because so that you can rejuvenate, see life from a different perspective. Because every time you are busy on the internet, on mobile, etc., pause for it some time and see as to what life has to offer you. Only then you'll be open to possibilities, opportunities that life has to give you.
How wonderful. And on that note, General, and your amazing lessons, stay non-judgmental, accept life as it is, don't resist, keep things simple. And the 4th one, technology is driving us, but have a little downtime. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your own journey to the very top in the army. Thank you for talking to me about the Indian soldier, about how technology is changing the defense of our country. Thank you also for speaking to me about both your books. Finally, thank you for talking to me again, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful, and all the best. My best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.